Playing video games is often perceived as the antithesis of engaging with and learning about the natural world. However, Beyond Blue challenges this stigma as it gets players invested in learning as much as they can about the Earth's oceans. Released on April 17, 2020, Beyond Blue is a game linked to the edutainment genre that finds you exploring the ocean as a member of a marine biologist team conducting research on sperm whales. One of the core gameplay loops involves scanning aquatic life, which rewards you with detailed appendix entries for the creatures. It is a simple method, but basic awareness of species' existence is arguably fundamental to an interest in its conservation. This is an effective way of educating players, as having to unlock the information causes players to actively try to unlock it and invest effort into doing so. Additionally, when it is presented as a reward, they are more likely to interact with it after unlocking, so as to not feel as their efforts were wasted. This is based on one of the core drives of which Cho describes as the drive that motivates us simply because we are unable to have something immediately. This also applies to the documentaries that are earned in the game, the inclusion of which reminds players that the issues presented to them in this piece of fiction are in fact happening in the real world right now in some capacity. The distinction between fact and fiction is becoming increasingly blurry, and this not only acts as a warning for what the future holds, but also as a reminder or eye-opener to the fact that these problems are real in the present, and will continue to happen if nothing is changed. In the story of the game, it is found out that there is an illegal mining operation happening and it is causing harm to the environment. This is an example of a well-reinforced trope of humans being the bane of nature that shows up commonly in eco-media, which Cubbit discusses. The damage that this mining causes reinforces the theory of the transition from the Holocene to the Anthropocene, where humankind is the driving factor in the health of the environment. This theme can be found once again when the player is told about how, in the past, the turtle population was almost extinct, and it eventually got to the point where they only survived in the man-made sanctuaries made by one of the characters in the game. The dichotomy and nuance of the Anthropocene is shown here in the sense that it does not mean that humans are only destroying and negatively affecting nature, but rather the fact that humans have vast control over the environment in every way. As Zemanek puts it, humans are the dominant force on Earth and must be aware of their responsibility. The game highlighting this fact could inspire people to take responsibility and promote positive change for the environment. The baby whale in the game, whose family is the main group of whales being monitored, is given the name Andrea. Animals are given names and human aspirations in order to make them more relatable, and so the audience can empathise with them more. This is a technique commonly used in documentaries beginning in 1948 with the True Life Adventures series, whereas before then, animals were commonly portrayed as either hunting targets or terrifying beasts. By projecting human qualities on the animals, it makes them more relatable to the audience, and leads to more human narratives and story arcs. However, this comes at the cost of potentially misrepresenting and masking the animal's nature and culture, as mainly human qualities are focused on and cared about. This is noted by Bradley when they discuss the making of She-Wolf, quoting director Bob Landers and saying, "We just assume wolf society is similar to human society," as well as noting the fact that producers were only really interested in the footage that could be used to create compelling story arcs. Environmental games are particularly effective at providing players new insight and empathy towards nature. One way we do this is by putting players in the shoes of a character that is directly invested in the safety of the environment, which causes players to embody the character along with the problems they are facing. Players experience the problems firsthand, so they understand them through a new lens. They are now your problems too, and where before you might not have felt affected personally by illegal deep-sea mining, having these past experiences, though fictional, will likely cause players to retain these feelings in the face of real-world parallels. The aim of environmental games is to ultimately change the player's attitude and influence their behaviour. As Deshev and Deshever explain, while citing Holman et al., gamified learning can engage learners in a productive learning experience, and more generally, change their behaviours in a desirable way. Ideally, environmental media will transfer over and prompt action of a real world, and they do occasionally inspire this. However, some people may be discouraged from straying beyond the virtual world due to high expectations formed from the virtual world not being met by those in reality. They may also have their agency stripped by a feeling of there being nothing they can do, paralysed by the sheer state of the crisis, as well as feelings of the issues being remote and invisible. In conclusion, Beyond Blue is a unique piece of eco-media thanks to the merging of documentary and game, as it borrows from the codes and conventions of documentaries and games alike in order to provide an effective piece of edutainment. It succeeds in its goal of getting people interested in and informing them about the ecosystem of the sea, as well as providing a new perspective for players to better understand the issues that the environment is facing.